Well, good afternoon. Welcome to office hours for COIS 1620. I will just start off with my short little admin spiel and cover a bit of stuff here, and I'll open the floor to questions. Feel free to jump in by audio, video, or in the chat box. I've got that open as well. So whatever way you want to communicate works well for me. We are slowly working through here. We are on, we are starting what's labeled in the syllabus as week 5. So week 5 is chapter 5. It's actually the 6th week, but it's chapter 5. So like every other week up until now, weeks 1 through 4. Anyways, there's a quiz due on Friday. So still got a couple people that are not able to see the quizzes for reasons that I've covered over and over and over again. And yeah, so that's fine. Read the syllabus, make sure you understand what the mandatory requirements are. If you're one of the 5 or 10% of people that still haven't seen a quiz, then get them in. Don't wait till 10 o'clock on Friday, like one student did, and expect that I'm going to be hanging around waiting for you to submit so that I can immediately mark it and get it ready so that you can write the quiz. So in any case, I think I've said this over and over again. The people that are watching this have probably heard me say it a million times. The people that aren't watching this are the people that still can't see quizzes. So what I wanted to talk about primarily here was the midterm. I wanted to touch on the term papers as well. I'll start with the term papers because that's probably a little easier to deal with. We've got week 5 coming up, but after that, we've got reading week. And my strong suggestion to students is to use that reading week not only to prepare for the midterm, but also to make sure that you're making real progress on that term paper. Only about half the class at this point has chosen a topic. It's recoverable at this point. But if you're going to wait another 4 or 5 weeks to choose a topic, you are not going to be happy with your mark. You're just not going to have the time to create and polish and edit and make the kind of submission that I'm looking for. This is a term paper worth 25% of the mark, and I'm expecting a high quality paper. It's not a big paper. If you look through the syllabus, the requirements are there. It's due on Tuesday, March the 22nd. It will be submitted online in Word format only. Late submissions are penalized at 10% per day. Late starts 1 second after the due date and due time. So yeah, I have no idea where to draw a line other than exactly when it's due. So there's not 5 minutes allowance. There's not a day's allowance. There's nothing. Don't waste your time sending me email. The answer will be no. If you're 1 second late, you're late. So plan your life and organize your time such that you can submit it on time. If you're not happy with your first submission for whatever reason, say it's March the 15th and you're ahead of time, you submit, and then you get reading it and you want to submit an amended version, you can submit as many times as you want. We'll only mark the last one. I mean, I'm not suggesting that you should submit 10 versions. Try not to, but if you figure out that you submitted by PDF by mistake, I'm not going to mark that. That's a 0. So you figure that out, then submit it by on time in Word format before. There's no harm, no foul, right? So we've got a bunch of topics that, like I said, half the class has chosen from. Pick something that interests you, but also do a little bit of research and make sure that you've got some sources. You're going to be required to have 10 references that are cited. They may be cited multiple times within the body of your work. I'm just pulling up while I'm talking. I'm just pulling up the requirements here for the term paper. There is, under assignments, there is a video about term papers. That's probably worth your while to listen to or watch. But here's the basic requirements around the term paper, and I'm just reading from the instructions that are available. Once you've chosen your topic under groups topics, everything's going to go blank. You're going to think maybe for a second that something's gone wrong. But once you've chosen your topic there, then you have to go into the assignments tab, and you'll find that in the assignments tab, your chosen topic will appear. So it'll say term paper 1 through 12, whatever you've chosen. It will have in blue the topic, the question that you're going to need to answer. But then the instructions below that are tell you or guide you that it's 1,200 to 1,500 words, which is not a lot of words. So the common mistake, especially for people that have left the writing of the term paper too long, is to say, oh, that's not very long. I'm going to have about 500 words of content, and I'm going to try and just fluff it up and make to the 1,200 mark. I'm looking for dense content that's well written. So my advice is to write 2,500 words, over time here, and then edit it down to 1,500, maybe 2,000 words, whatever. Depends on your writing style. I tend to write fluffy, fat prose when I write it the first time, meaning that I've got lots of unnecessary description, lots of redundancy, all sorts of things. I quite frankly hate my first version always. So I take a look at that first version and I start slashing. So if I wrote 2,500 words the first time through, or 2,200, I could probably slash that in one edit right down to the 1,500 word range. And then that's not to say it'd just be one edit. I'd read through that and continue to polish it, make sure I made my point. So please do revise. Get this thing down. You're polishing a lump of coal into a gemstone, into a diamond, right? You're going to make this a really nice term paper with good content and well-researched, that sort of thing. It's actually probably more challenging to have it as 12 to 1,500 words than if I said it could be 2,500 words. So am I going to penalize you if you're at 1,503 words? Nope, I'm not. So don't worry too much about that. However, if you're at 1,700 words, that's too much. You need to have edited it down. Aim for the exact amount. I always get email from students saying I've got 1,510 words. Don't worry about that, and don't bother emailing me about that. I'm not that specific. I get questions like, do you count the citations as part of it? I'm not so specific that I care one way or the other. What I can tell you is that in 1,000 words, you're not going to be able to get the level of content I'm looking for. And if you're writing 1,700 words or more, you're either providing too much content, which is actually unlikely, or you just haven't revised it down. You've got just too much word. You're being very wordy. So it's also worth noting that we have a very good video that is available under the course content general tab that talks about editing. It will really help your writing. That is one, I've said this before, that's one of my core goals, is to improve students' writing. So I do want you to take the time to do that, take on the challenge and give a good term paper. Given that's worth 25% of your mark, it's worth investing a fair bit of time in, I would think. So the other sort of guidelines with it, paper should be double spaced, 12-point Arial or Times New Roman, not comic, not 15-point, not 10-point. Follow the instructions, please. Minimum of 10 in-text citations, I said that, and a corresponding list of 10 or more references. So I would expect normally that you would cite each reference more than once. I'm not requiring that. I'm just saying that is not a problem. APA format. Lots of people struggled with the APA format questions in the mandatory course requirements quiz. Spend the time to figure out how it works. Again, I've provided resources for that as well. under your course content general tab as well. So make it APA. It's probably worth 10 to 15% of the mark, right? So probably close to 10% without looking at it, but just it's easy marks, right? It's easy marks to do it properly. Your paper must be submitted in Word. I said that already. Late submissions 10% per day. I said that. Use a formal tone. Avoid first person. So formal tone, this is not a paper about your summer vacation. This is not a correspondence between friends. It's a formal academic paper. That's what I'm looking for. Avoiding first person. I don't want to hear you or read you say, I believe, or I think, or I observed. None of that. That's first person. If you're using I and me in your writing, you're not using the proper structure. I want it to be third person. And usually that academic writing is in passive structure. So the grass was observed to be green as opposed to, or the grass is green as opposed to I saw the green grass. Okay, that's what I'm talking about there. That is all covered extensively in the video that I talked about that was done by the academic skills group. So please take the time to watch that. I don't think so. So as far as APA format has a whole bunch, it covers a whole bunch of things. I'm really just looking for a title page, a main content. You can include introduction, you can include sections within that if that's how you want to write it. But I'm looking for an essay essentially. So an introductory paragraph, some paragraphs of content, and a conclusion at the end. Okay, that you don't need to do something like a précis or a management synopsis, anything like that, any of the other writing styles. All you need is your introduction, like your cover page, your main body of your work, and then your list of references at the end. Okay. Yeah, I don't worry about running heads and all those kinds of things that APA format can require. I think the latest APA doesn't require running heads, but and you don't really have to worry too much about that. The way that you do your title page, as long as it tells me your name and what course it's for and that sort of thing, that is fine. So I don't provide a lot of guidance on things like that because I don't care about stuff like that. I do care about APA formatting for citations and the reference list. That's what I care about. And I care about a high quality, interesting paper that's well researched. Any questions? Let me take a pause here and ask if there's any questions about the term paper, anything I haven't covered or that is that's top of mind at this point. And we can continue to talk about the term paper, each and every one. For the term paper, direct quotes are okay as long as we properly cite them right. Yes, with this caveat, you can easily overdo quotes. If you have a choice, paraphrase, unless it's absolutely essential that it be word for word from some source. The average student or the normal student is going to err on the side of having way too many quotes. I wouldn't have more than one quote in a paper this size. And if you start, it becomes very hard to read. And if you watch that, the video that I've referenced from the academic skills, it talks about that. If you read a lot of papers like I do, and you have students that are putting 3 and 4 and 5 quotes in their papers, first of all, it's not your work, even though you're quoting it and citing it properly. So it's cumbersome to read. So paraphrase. That demonstrates that you understand the material. I get that occasionally there is a need for a quote, but if you can go your whole paper without a quote, I would suggest you do that. Okay. Are you fine if we get information from YouTube videos or websites? Yes, absolutely. I'm fine with that. I think I speak somewhere about sources. Maybe I do not, but we'll cover that. Quality of your references matters. So that simple sentence means that a peer-reviewed paper is going to be best, right? Using Google Scholar, if you can get a peer-reviewed academic paper, that's going to be your best possible source. However, that's not realistic in all of these subjects that you have 10 or more of peer-reviewed papers. So we're not quite at that sort of level. We're not writing a thesis here. So we're not too worried about that. So feel free to use any source you want, but be aware of the credibility, right? So if you are, let's say you're studying the company Nike and you quote that, quote or paraphrase that Nike has the best shoes and your source is the Nike website, you've got a conflict there, right? That you cannot rely on Nike to tell you if Nike has the best anything. So, and I think I've said the same thing in the past about review websites. So there's no reason you'd be talking about Nike that I'm aware of for these term papers, but just as an example, if you go to a review site that has links on it to go buy Nike and they're getting a kickback or an affiliate link to do that, that's not a good source either. So just be aware, like we want the best possible sources. I don't have a problem with a YouTube as long as that person has some credibility. If you're quoting medical advice from Joe Rogan, from his podcast, Joe Rogan's not a doctor. Joe Rogan gets in lots of trouble for not being a doctor. So yeah, just be aware. I think I've killed the question completely, but you can use any source that you want. The better, like lean towards using better sources rather than worse sources. Okay. Are you fine? Sorry, just reading through the questions here. Will part of the grading have to do with how well we relate the topic to what we learn in the course? No, I'm not big on that particularly. In fact, what I'm looking for with the term paper is to expand your horizons. I want to cover stuff that hopefully is interesting. I did put effort into getting some potentially interesting subjects for you. I want it to be beyond. I'm not in, I don't know if you're in my 3750 class, but we talk a lot about assignments relating back to core course material. I'm not worried about that in this instance. So hopefully that covers that. Yeah, do take a look at the rubric somewhere. I can find the rubric here. You guys can find it in your grade section, I believe. Bear with me. I am just going to pull it up my way because obviously my display looks different than yours. So yeah, here we go. So 70% is for content, and we have sort of a wide variety of choices. Everything from sort of negligible, meaning you've got crappy or non-existent content, to expert. So there's just different levels. And the same, so our references and citations are worth 15% of your final mark. So that's kind of a big deal, right? You need to get those right. If you, like some people do every year, give me a beautiful sorted reference list and you don't cite any of your references and you think that I'm magically going to be able to tell what you're using in any given sentence, you're going to get a 0 in that section, right? We want the 10 references, but they have to be cited within the body of your work, okay? And then presentations, another 15%. So that's all the polish, all the spelling and the grammar and, sentence structure and using paragraphs and all sorts of things like that. So you can get a 70, but if, it without, in theory, without citations, but you're also going to lose marks on your content if you don't properly prove your points. So even though it's 15% for references and citations, you want to have those citations in there. If you don't, you'll lose marks as well in content because we need any opinion or any fact that's expressed to be supported. Okay. So yeah, 15% presentation, 15% citations and references, and 70% content. But do take a look. The rubric's very detailed, and we will provide extensive feedback when we mark these things. But we'll be choosing check marks from the various columns in the rubric. Any other questions about the term paper while we're on that subject? When we submit the paper and get the preview on Blackboard, is it formatted the way that it will be marked? I've had trouble with Word documents losing their paragraph structure depending on how they're viewed. So that's a great question. That's a very valid question. We've concluded already that we're definitely of the opinion that Blackboard is evil. I don't get too excited. Like what I see usually in the preview, and I usually mark from the preview, not 100%, but I do usually mark from the preview. It's the page breaks and things like that get messed up. So, your references page might start halfway through a page in the preview. I'll never deduct for that kind of stuff. If things are bad enough, I will download your original submitted Word document. But keep in mind, I mean, if you write in Word 2013 and I open it in whatever, Office 365 or whatever the current version is, 2019, whatever we're in, things look different, right? That's why people use PDFs in general. The reason I require Word, and I think I've said this before, is because Word is the best and most reliable way that I can check the academic integrity, so that I can check to make sure there's not plagiarism. It's the best way that the system can go through and relate your writing to anyone else's writing that I've ever marked and that's available on the web. Okay, so that's why it's Word. So don't worry too much about paragraph structure in terms of how it appears. If it gets butchered, I know to take a look at it. Usually that's not a problem. It's usually just the start of the page. It's just where pages start and end that gets kind of messed up in the preview. Is a docx file? Yep. Yeah. Doc or a docx file. Yeah. Whichever Word format you choose, old style or new style, either one. Okay. I will do my best. I don't promise to do it 100% or on time, because typically students are all going to submit 90% on the day that it's due. I do try and go through and make sure that all the submissions are in the right format and give you a warning. If by the time I identify that we're past the due date, you're docked 10% for for making me have to mess around and ask for the proper format. If you submit it in the right format, if I get back to you and it's a couple days later that you submit it in the format, you could lose the 10% plus late penalties as well. Just submit it in the right format, then we have no problems whatsoever. I am not going to mark anything that's not in Word format, period. All right, have I beaten the term paper to death for now? Okay, let's talk about, and I mean, ask questions if we want to go back to that. Let's talk about the midterm. So a couple things. This is our last office hours before the midterm. I'm not going to do an office hours on next Saturday, which is winding into, I hope, is winding into your week off. Yeah, next Saturday is the 19th. Your reading week is 21st, I think, is a holiday officially, but that's the week that you're off. I also won't be doing an office hours on the 26th, on the Saturday of the reading week. So it'll be 3 weeks from now before we do another office hours. I'll schedule it in Zoom as I did the first 5. The exam will be when you get back after reading week. So let me just get to our midterm exam. It's on Tuesday, March 1st. I will be scheduling it at 10 a.m. till noon. that will present a problem for some people, obviously. The people that have classes or other exams need to let me know so that I can make exceptions for them. Let me know. Do not wait until Monday to let me know that. Look at it, figure out if you're going to have a conflict. It takes me a while to set every single person up that has an exception and to respond to their email. If I get bombarded with email on, say, Tuesday morning, you may be too late. So, yeah, if it doesn't work well with your time zone, but you don't have any other reason, or whatever, you don't want to be up, but maybe that's 10 o'clock at night for you in your time zone. That's unfortunate, but that is the way things are with remote learning, where the idea is that 95% of the students will be writing at 10 till 12 Eastern Standard Time. I don't know if it might be daylight time by then, on March the 1st. So, okay, local time in any case. So I'll definitely do a reminder for that. Yeah, I'll send an email and make an announcement, send an email just asking people for exceptions. I've already had people talk to me about it, and I've always asked them to get back to me about a week before the exam. And the reason for that is I have to make the changes in the actual exam. I haven't 100% finalized the exam. I know what it's going to look like, but I haven't finished it. So until I finish it, I can't put in the exceptions for people. If you have a Student Accessibility Services, SAS accommodation, that will be automatically built in. If it's a time-related accommodation, it'll be automatically built in. So don't worry about that. But if you have something that you can only write in the afternoon or something like that, if you have an exception that is noted where I have to reschedule for you, you need to let me know that. So in general, SAS exceptions have already come to me. If you haven't done that, please do. That I just add you to a group based on the multiplier of time that you need. But if you have a specific time of day that you're required to write, please do let me know. But let's start this next week. Send me those emails next week so that I don't get too far behind. I obviously don't want to miss doing anything with anyone, and I always send back if it's something beyond just the time adjustment, meaning just the length of time adjustment that's automatic. If it's something beyond that, I will send a screenshot back to you so that you can confirm that I got it right. Okay, I do that for everyone. If you had another exam or class or something like that and I need to reschedule you, I will send you back a screenshot showing you that I've got it right. So that way there's two sets of eyes on it, and people don't get disappointed when they try to write their exam and I haven't done what I was asked to do. Okay, so hopefully that covered the question about the exception as early as today. If you're talking about registering with SAS and me getting that letter, yeah, anytime, sooner the better. Most people, I believe, have done that. I've got lots of people in various categories for that accommodation. But if you say are somewhere, for instance, that's late at night and you have an accommodation only right in the morning, that sort of thing, let me know next week, please. Okay, so the exam itself, like I said, Tuesday, March 1st, 10 a.m. to 12 noon local time. It's going to cover chapters 1 to 5. It could cover additional weekly readings like the videos and things like that. It's really unlikely that it will. Okay, you should watch those videos that I've provided, but more with an idea of clarifying the course content. The textbook is key. That's where the questions come out of. Some of the questions you're going to recognize as being quiz questions. If you've done all the quizzes, then you'll recognize some of those. You will have 60 multiple choice or multiple answer and maybe true false, but probably not questions. So 60 of those. And then 6 short answer questions. The short answer questions are typically going to be require about 5 points, meaning 5 facts to get full marks. Bear with me for 1 second. I just want to take a quick look at the midterm as it stands. So the multiple choice are 1 mark each for 60 marks. The short answer are 5 marks each. So you want to make 5 points to get full marks for 30 marks total. So the whole thing is out of 90 marks. It's 2 hours long. 2/3 of your marks are going to come from the multiple choice. So typically students do very, very well in this. It is completely open book. I have no way of regulating, so I'm not putting any restrictions on it. Do not Google the answer when you're doing the short answers, and copy and paste it straight out. It has to be in your own words. If I start seeing copy and paste from a website or wherever, that is plagiarism. I don't want things cited. I want things in your own words. So it has to be in your own words. That is absolutely crucial. So feel free to look up any source you want and then just phrase it in your own words and give me the answer. Okay. So now there's lots of students that will figure it's open book. I don't need to study. They won't do as well as they could if they actually studied. And the reason is lots of students complain that they run out of time. Not lots. Some students complain that they run out of time. That is a lack of preparation. So if you are doing those short answer questions, those 6 short answer questions at the end, make sure that you've allotted the amount of time that you need to do that. You can use point form. I don't need fancy sentences. If you decide that you want to do everything in paragraph, full formal responses, that's great, but do use paragraphs. Do not give me a big block of text to wade through. I will undoubtedly miss, or we may well miss, some of the points that you make. My suggestion would be to do it in point form, and that way it's very easy for us to mark and give you full credit. It's not so much about making it easy for us to mark as making it hard for us to miss information that you're presenting to us so that we can give you as many marks as possible. Like I said, the students generally do very well on this exam. It becomes much more challenging when we get to the final and you're in a proctored situation without open book. So take advantage of this, get as good a mark as you can. You are expected to write it as an individual. You're not supposed to write it in a group. I have in the past been successful in finding out occasionally. I'm certainly sure many more people cheated than I've caught, but I will do everything I can. If I somehow find out about a group, I will write up every single student in that group that's writing. That tends to go as a notation on your transcript that you were caught with an academic integrity violation, and it can result as much as a suspension or being kicked out of the university. Just don't do it. Make it easy. Don't do it. Test yourself by the knowledge that you have and the internet that you have available to you and the textbook that you have available to you. Okay. I guess the only other thing that I wanted to say, usually students ask me if I'm going to give a sample or a practice exam. I will make that available over the reading week for you. And it won't be very big, but it'll give you just a refresher on the multiple choice questions. No, I will not open up the quizzes, nor will I provide the answers to any of these things because it's all from the same pool, but I will make it so that you can test yourself. I would suggest studying first and then testing yourself on the multiple choice and getting comfortable with those answers. And certainly studying groups, that's a good way of studying for a lot of people. But I will give you a sample. I find, I mean, I see who writes and who doesn't, the practice. I find that probably 15 or 20% of students do the practice exam. So every year I sort of have a conflict with myself whether I'm going to bother doing it, but I realize that typically it's the 15 or 20% more engaged students that are doing it. So I'm happy to give you an opportunity to do that if you will take the time to write it. Any questions about anything? Well, the final or anything else. Will we be able to see our answers for the midterm? No, you will not. It'll be closed just like the quizzes, and you won't get your midterm back either. Same problem, same problem, same sort of theory here. The midterm isn't a learning tool. The midterm is a assessment tool. It's a tool for me to see how well you've assimilated the information. Do the midterm. Yeah, the midterm will be online. Yes, I didn't specifically say that. It will definitely be online. It'll be a line item sitting on your Blackboard menu. It's currently hidden. It right now, I may move it a little bit, but right now it's right below my grades. You just can't see it. So it'll just be a link on the menu there for you to write right there. Okay. It will. Here's another question that often gets asked of me. It will show all questions at once. It will not just show you one question at a time, and it will obviously permit you to go and revisit any question. I don't know why anyone would just present one question at a time. It'll all be there for you all at once. You can answer in any order you want. You can stop it, save it, and resume it, but your clock starts once you started. So if for whatever reason you needed to take a break and you didn't want to leave it wide open, you can stop, go to the bathroom, come back. I guess it's worth saying that your internet connection is your problem. I don't really care if you lose internet. I can't do anything about that, and I cannot validate it. So have a backup plan just in case, right? So hopefully you're on Wi-Fi at home or perhaps in the dorms or whatever. Have your phone available. If you need to connect to your phone, do that. There is absolutely nothing I can do. And, I have to be fair to everyone. So it's very hard to prove that you've lost internet in a way that it couldn't be faked. So please have a backup plan. Please take care of that. If Blackboard goes down, 100% of everyone is going to be impacted. I will happily deal with that. Okay. So things that I can control, things that I can, validate properly, I can make exceptions for, but it happens every time. There's so many students here. I will have probably 6 or 7, say 600 students writing a midterm in this class and in computer forensics. And there's someone that's going to tell me how their Wi-Fi went down. And maybe it did, maybe it didn't. I can't do anything about that. All right. Any other questions about anything to do with the course? All right. Thank you for your time. I do appreciate all the students that take the time to come. I also appreciate all the students that take the time to watch the video afterwards. It really helps to communicate, to make sure that everything's hopefully crystal clear, and it avoids redundant questions that can be answered in a group setting. So if you have questions, feel free to email me, but obviously make sure you do your due diligence to check your sources, do your part to make sure that the answer isn't already available to you. Okay, so get on with your Saturday. Good luck on the midterm when that comes. I will put out an announcement when the practice midterm is available for sure. And if you prepare, if you spend any reasonable amount of time preparing for this, you will have an extraordinarily good mark and you'll be in really good shape going into the final and the term paper components. So, all right. Thanks very much. Have a good weekend. You as well, Emma.